All right. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, May 12th. I think that's right. Yeah. No, May 13th, 2020. I've lost track of days. That's where we're at. Sorry about that. Hope you guys are doing well. If you hear some music going on in the background, the girls are watching High School Musical 3. So we've been on a kick lately, and so sorry about that if it's a little bit noisy. Hopefully it won't be too bad. Uh, Frank LeHoulier says Boston 8 versus the SL20 for $85. I think it would depend. It's pretty close. You know, I like the Boston 9 for longer distances a little bit more, I think. But I would say like go with the Boston 9 versus the Boston 8, although I guess they're pretty similar. Although I'd rather have the one with boost and light strike rather than the one with just boost and then the other nondescript unnamed EVA foam that they had in there before. So I'll go with those. I feel like the SL20 is slightly more race oriented or faster than the Boston 9 is. I think the Boston 9 still has a little bit more variety to it. Michael Sussler's here. Keeperification here just says pizza, which makes sense. Blaine Masterson says, great time again. Just walked in from a great 10 miler. Awesome. That sounds like a great run. It is really hot in our apartment right now. It's been like kind of like going back and forth. Hey, can you turn that down just a little bit? Sorry, I'm getting like really distracted. I'm having a hard time like hearing. Did you do it? I don't think it's turned down at all. You gotta point it a little bit because the bike's in the way. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, that's more than you need. You can turn it up louder than that a little bit. I know. It's for you, as long as you can hear it. Sorry. It's like cold and chilly outside, especially for this time of May, and it's been alternating between like chilly and like hot in here. And our apartment has a lot of windows, and we're like a greenhouse, so it's that time of the afternoon where I think everything's really hot. So I've got the window open here, so we might have some ambient noise from outside as well. Sorry about that if that's a bother, but I should be getting another microphone in shortly. And then that one, I mean, you guys are on the shotgun mic now. I've got the shotgun mic going to the YouTube live stream. And then for the people listening on the podcast, I have a lavalier mic coming in, which I'm going to use. I can't figure out a way to make one mic go to two different sources, one being an iPad Pro with a USB-C and the other being an iPhone 11 Pro, neither of which have a headphone jack. So that's just the problems that I'm dealing with. Daniel M's coming in from Austin. He says, hello, everybody. My mom says, hello from New Jersey. Hi, Mom. How are you? Frank LaHoulier says, can't find the Boston 9. Yeah, I think it's weird. I think it's weird that it's been like moved from the Adidas website, that they don't have it like at all. It's a little bit peculiar because you could still find versions of the Boston 8 that's on there. But I think you can find Boston 9 on some other retailers, like Roadrunner Sports has some sizes left. Running Warehouse has some sizes left. I've seen. So maybe you can find some there if you're interested in that. You might not be, in which case like the Boston 8 I think is a pretty good option as well. Blast Grabnar says, I still don't get it that you're on YouTube at this time. Just a refreshing feed to when you'll show up there. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, all sorts of schedule and people's sense of time is way off. I can't remember what date it is ever. I got the date wrong this morning on the morning live stream as well, and then I was pretty sure I had it right for the afternoon, and I got it wrong again. Anyway, Kiefer Vacations here from the Polar Grit fan club, and he likes the green more than the black Polar Grit. It's a good color. It's an interesting color. I tell my girls always ask me what my favorite color is. I don't really have a favorite color, but I tell them green because you can't like not pick a favorite color when an 8-year-old or a 3-year-old asks you what's your favorite color. Stuart Muirden, that's a hard one to say. Stuart says, hey, Kofuzi, I bought the New Balance Hanzo S. I'm not familiar with that one. Lewis Cameron says, hey, from Boston, and says, hey to my mom. Hey, Mama Co. What's going on, Lewis? Hope things are going well in Boston. Mark Chan Coco says, yo, yo, and Shayko says, hey. Ines says, hey, Kofuzi, good to see you again, Ines. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. I'm having a pretty good Wednesday. I'm having a little bit of a sleepy day. I've been trying to minimize the number of the fact that I take an accidental nap during the day, and try to get like more productivity out of myself and the girls during the day, because I try to like give them, I don't want to be a real taskmaster on it, and like just keep pushing him from like activity to activity to activity in terms of schoolwork. So I try to give him a lot of breaks. But the breaks that happen in the afternoon, I tend to fall asleep when they're like doing their thing. I'm trying to avoid that, trying to find a way to be more productive. Today was not as successful as other days. Sorry. Carlos PR says, hope from Puerto Rico, says, waiting for the sun to come down a little bit to go for his 5 mile run. Awesome. What's the temperature like over there in Puerto Rico these days? Blaine Masterson says, also officially hit 325 miles on an Infinity React and still feeling brand new. That's the thing about React Foam. It just goes and goes. Martha says, hi, everyone. Just watched Mark Wien's episode from Rome with Pizza. His Around the World food series is called Migrationology. Don't watch it hungry. I'll have to check that one out. That sounds delicious. Normal Newman says, hi from Wales. Just finished your pizza video. Hilarious. Awesome. I'm glad you liked it. I think we had a really great time here, and a lot of people that are here now were here before. Okay, awesome. Cool. Good job. Thanks. What are these numbers? 7744. Oh, okay. All right. Just checking on some of my daughter's schoolwork. Yeah, I think we had a really fun time yesterday on the Trivia Tuesday when we were talking about pizza. So I'm going to try and maybe not replicate that amount of fun because I feel like that's going to be a unique level of fun that we had on that one. But I'm going to try to, I think I'm going to keep up with the Trivia Tuesday and come up with different themes for each week and keep it going. So hopefully that'll be a fun day on the week. Tomorrow will be happy hour, so bring your favorite beverage. Doesn't have to be alcoholic, but mine will be. But that's what we'll do tomorrow. And today is just, there's no subject. I don't think I'm going to have like a topic for every day. I think some days can just be random, and today's one of those days. Blas Grabnar says, how do you choose the right shoe size? I know my Adidas size. Site says 28.4 centimeters. I measured approximately 29 centimeters. Nike, I have 29. My foot is 27.7 after a run. Should I go with 28.5 or 29 centimeters in a different brand? I use US sizing, so I don't know like what those numbers mean or how that translates, I'm afraid. But I use the same size on all my shoes. So like I have not bought a shoe that's not a size 9 in like at least in the last 4 years of all the shoes that I get. And all the shoes that I get. I've run in one shoe that wasn't. A brand sent me an early shoe and they didn't have any 9, so they sent me a 9.5. But other than that, other than that one shoe, I run in a size 9 for all the shoes, and it tends to work out for me. And it also, I use it from like a reviewer's perspective of how like right is the shoe sizing. Like if I can't fit into the size 9 or it doesn't feel right, then it's too tight. Right, so for me, for example, like the Speed Elite from Skechers, I wear a size 9 in that one. I also wear a size 9 in the Go Run Ride 8 and also the Razor 3. Those shoes feel fine, but the Speed Elite doesn't feel fine. It feels like the toe box is way too small on that one, and so that tells me a lot. But for like a regular person trying to find the right size in shoe, I would say like, so what size are you wearing? You're wearing, I would go with 29. If the Nikes that you're using you like at the 29 centimeters, I would try that for all of your shoes. Now there are certain people that are going to be close. Like I think I'm squarely in size 9. Some people are going to be like closer. Maybe they're closer to size 9, but not exactly size 9. But maybe they can sometimes fit an 8.5, or maybe sometimes they need a 9.5. I know there's people that are out there like that. But if you're just going off the one measurement of how long your foot is, I think that like the people that are on those bubbles where sometimes they wear different sizes, probably it's not just the foot length that's the deciding factor on that. I'm guessing it's width that usually helps you decide or makes the difference. And so I found that sizing is pretty consistent across brands. How tight a shoe feels, I think, changes depending on the shoe, though, which I think a lot of people don't realize at first. Joseph Horn says, started Couch to 5K 3 weeks ago. Awesome. Never done any running before. Is it normal for my knees and ankles to be really sore? Yes and no. Because you're going from couch to 5K. They're going to feel different because you're doing different things to them. But it should be like a pleasant soreness. If they hurt, then it might be a signal that your body needs you to back off just a little bit. So that's kind of, it's really hard to figure that out in the beginning. Um, but I would say if you're on a couch to 5K plan, there's probably some rest days in there. I'd really pay attention to how you're feeling the day after the rest day. If your knees and ankles aren't feeling better on the day after the rest day, then that might be a signal that it's an impending injury. But if they're feeling better the day after the rest day, then it might be just a signal that like your knees are adapting to something new that's happening. Jen from Wa says, hi, beautiful day in Ann Arbor and enjoyable 10K or run around noon. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great running temperatures we got in the Midwest right now. Mark Chain Coco says, SL20 or Rincon? That's a good question. I would say for most people, I think it would depend on whether or not you like the tightness of the fit in the Rincon. The Rincon has a racer fit. The SL20 is a little bit more forgiving. So that's going to be a big difference there. A lot of times when I run in the SL20, I'm feeling like I'm running in someone's soccer cleats and I just shaved off the cleats. So I kind of get that feel to it. The Rincon really just feels more like it's trying to mold itself to my foot. So it's a pretty exciting feeling. That's a close one. Interesting. I will look forward to doing that comparison once I get a Rincon 2 in. Mark Elliott says, hi from Austria. How's it going? How are you? Cheese415 says, hi, also is coming in from Ann Arbor. What's going on? Steve Whitey says, yo, I've taken you on a recovery run tonight. Awesome. Need to get you back in my flip belt somehow. P.S. Surname is with thee. Oh, sorry. But just Steve is cool. All right, we'll go with Steve. Sorry about that, Steve. I didn't mean to mispronounce your last name. Weather is spot on tonight. Awesome. You know, I do have a hard time with that with the flip belt too. Like once you take something out of the flip belt, it's really hard to put it back in. It's not if you're not running, but if you're running, like if you're still moving, I have a real hard time with it, I gotta tell you. But I'm glad to go along with you on your run for today. That's awesome. Harry Chrono says, do you take a day off from running? I try not to because I like running. And so I think I usually end up, when I'm training, life, frequently gets in the way. And so I end up taking I'm running like 13 out of every 14 days is kind of how I generally see it. But if I can just go without a rest day, I would prefer that. I think my longest streak is like 90 or 100 days or something like that. I don't know if I quite went 100. That could be a goal. In the quarantine times, that could be an interesting goal. Awesome. That's a good one. I love it. I like the colors on that one. But yeah, so some people love their rest days. I would rather just have like that 7th day, or if I've taken 2 rest days. I mean, I have like an easy run today. So I just went out there and whatever just kind of was like easy and low heart rate, that's what I did for the entire run, and I felt really great afterwards. So that's kind of how I see it. So, or, this week we'll have rain on a couple of days this week, so I'll probably be on the bike. And so that'll be kind of like a rest day. I'll still get an aerobic benefit, but it'll be easier on the knees. So I try not to, but it's because I really like activity. Lewis Cameron says, would have figured your favorite color would be black, all black, everything running. Well, I mean, yeah, black. I mean, I don't really count that as a color, but yeah, black or like. I'm like Lego Batman. Dark black or really dark gray. Those are like my colors. My wife used to tell people her favorite color was black, like with a straight face, no joking, because it is her favorite color is black. So that's pretty funny. Mark Chancoco says, Pegasus Turbo 2 or Epic React for a long run? For a long run, Epic React. Freddie Pulido says, hey, hello, Kofuzi. Freddie from Colombia. Awesome. Hope you're doing well there. What's going on? The camera's over here. There it is. Ricardo Katagiri says, hey, is that the non-elite cap? Looks awesome. It is the non-elite cap. It's a little bit dirty and it's got some fuzz on it. It's been getting kicked around the house a little bit. But like my hair, just real messy. And I've been trying to like not wear a hat a little bit during the day just because, your hair just gets annoyed if it's all like encapsulated for too long. At least mine does. And so like I try to do that, but then like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be on camera in a second, I better go get a hat. So I just had to go it was like underneath a stroller, like with the dust bunnies, so I had to just kind of grab it and put it on real quick. Let's see, Yeah, Daniel M says one of his running buddies told him this while running in Texas. Heat is the poor man's altitude. I've heard that before too. And then I've also run in altitude, and I would say no. It's very different. Heat is heat, and altitude is altitude. Both of them make you really tired real fast. But I think that they're very. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, maybe a poor man's altitude, maybe. Because Carlos was saying it's 85 degrees and feels like 92 because there's some humidity over there too. Very hot. It sounds like it. Let's see. Cody Davis says, today I went to Chipotle. When they asked white or brown rice, you said hype rice. What did they give you if you said hype when you said hype rice? That's the question. Like if you tell them hype rice and they ask you white or brown rice, did they were just like, excuse me, what? Or did they were like, I'm gonna mix white and brown together? I bet you that's what they did. Ahmet Yavuz Pakal says, good day from Istanbul, Turkey. Good to see you again. Stevie76 says, reading Wednesdays. Here, Kofuzi narrates samples of his favorite running books. Maybe copyright issues. Yeah, there might be copyright issues. I think that that one might fall under like permitted copyright. You know, like a lot of times, like when I mean, basically, like whenever people do like gameplays, that's all like permitted copyright use. If they wanted to, like Nintendo or Fortnite, the makers of Fortnite, whatever that company is, they could like take down all that content because it's all copyrighted material, but it's permitted use. That's my understanding of how that all works. Not that like someone's gotten permission, but like the owner lets it go, kind of thing. But that could be a good way. If I did Reading Wednesdays, it could be a good way of me breaking into my, the career that if I were to change careers, what I'd really love to do, which is to narrate audiobooks. I think that'd be great. I really want to do that. I don't know how to get into that line of work, but I think that'd be amazing. But the other thing I would have to do though is then I have to buy written, like regular books. I only buy audiobooks right now, so I'd have to buy like written books. Which I mean, I guess I could do that. It'd be an investment in a future career change, maybe. Dominic Schrout says, hi from Switzerland. I am looking for a cushioned, slow, long-run shoe which doesn't feel uncomfortable if you insert some tempo elements. What did you recommend? I would say 1080 V10 and Triumph 17. I would say let's see, which one is better, faster? I'm not sure. I've seen Parker Stinson do not intervals on the track, but I've seen him do like mile repeats, or like not the entire workout, but I've seen like clips on Instagram, that kind of thing, of him doing like fast work in Triumph 17s. And Molly Seidel also loves her Triumph 17s. She put like 500 miles in one pair, leading up to the Atlanta Marathon trials. So like those are definitely shoes you can run fast in. I think I might prefer the 1080 V10 depending on the temperature where you are, because the Triumph 17 I think is a hot shoe, like it's temperature hot. So those would be the two that I pick. Soul Child says, what is your go-to marathon shoes? I don't have one anymore. So like I've been tinkering around. The last marathon I ran in the Hoka Carbon Rockets, that is not a shoe that I'm strong enough to run in for an entire marathon very well. Yeah, it felt great for the good first 15 miles. Then after that, I was like, I made a poor decision here. Right now, I'm thinking things that are high on my list right now. Like if I were to run a marathon in like 2 weeks from today, I would probably put Boston 9, Hyperion Tempo, and Fuel Cell TC as my top 3 contenders. Nathan N says, good morning. Just got back from his run. Awesome. Hope you had a good one. Nitesh Kachandani says, what kind of people need wide or extra wide size of shoe in Nike Pegasus 36? I think I have Asics Gel Venture US size 9. I don't know. I think you measure your foot and that dictates it. I've never measured my foot, like width. I mean, I suppose I have at some point because they have those things at the shoe store, right? It looks like a big plus sign, like the metal plus sign, and like it has the sliders that you move in and you figure out how big your foot is. I haven't really like measured my foot on one of those in a long time, but like, yeah, that's how you would know. You measure like across your foot, I think across the pads of the foot. Roy Garcia says, yo, what's going on? Really digging that Glycerin 18. Still feeling the lost cushioning in them in longer runs. Yeah, yeah. I love the the customization that Greg did for me on those. But as I was running into them on that day, like I did 15 miles on them that day, uh, after like 4 miles already, I was like, there's just not enough cushion in this shoe for it to be a max cushion shoe. There's something like missing from it. Like the foam just isn't soft enough. I think it's all DNA Loft foam. No, yeah, DNA. It's all the DNA Loft. It's not DNA. It's not Biomogo. I forget what's in the Glycerin 18, but it's kind of like there's two of them. Biomogo and DNA Loft are in the Ghost, and then Glycerin has all of whatever's supposed to be softer. Maybe the Biomogo. I'm not sure. But it's just it needs a little extra something. Um, it's not that it's uncomfortable, but it's just if you're gonna call it max cushion from Brooks, it should have more. You know, that's my feelings on this shoe. Let's see. Kai Runs Boulder says hi from Wyoming. Awesome. Glad to hear. He says finally catching one live. Oh, I'm glad to have you here. Awesome. Um, Innes Dunbar says I'm surprised you don't need to size up with Hoka. I need to go up on each pair. Yeah, I mean I've been fine with it. The only Hokas that feel really tight on me is the Carbon X and maybe the Rincon. It's borderline for me, I think. But like the Clifton 6 felt like big. Um, the Bondi felt a little bit snug, which I was a little bit surprised at. But yeah, Super Small says it's your it's Super Small's birthday and son's too. Awesome, turning 2 today and running around like crazy. That is a crazy age. A lot of energy. I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed this too with your kids, but like when my dog was younger, and had puppy energy still, we had what my wife and I would call zoomies. Every day, like around like dusk, like a little bit before dinner time, the dog would just start going nuts and literally running around in circles. Not like tight circles, but like running laps, like around the apartment, like wherever he could go. My kids have started doing, even though the dog doesn't do that anymore because he's old, but my kids have started doing that together. They feed off each other, and at some point, like um, I think part of it is the excitement from when my wife kind of like her workday starts to taper, um, and they get excited, and I'm kind of like tired from like trying to like have some sort of structure in the day, and I'm like at the whatever stage of the day, they just start going nuts. So I wonder if your son does that too. um, Tulo Test says, "Love the little dad moments in the live stream." Yeah, I mean it's real life in here, so they're coming in. We have to warn the baby because the baby lately has not been wanting to wear any shirts. So we're like, Daddy's gonna turn the camera on soon, so you can't come over here if you don't want to put a shirt on. So I've been giving her like the stiff arm every once in a while, so she can't be on, but she might be venturing a trip over here. She just put a bathrobe on. I can see. Um, Greg says you should do a cameo appearance at a shoe store and help customers pick out shoes, carrying your selfie stick when shoe stores open up again. I think that's a great idea. I bet you Roadrunner Sports would let me do that. The funny thing would be is I would just be some random dude with the camera and no one would know who I was. That'd be the funny part. It'd be kind of like that one episode. Have you ever seen it? Post Malone went to a record store and pretended he was just a dude working at the record store, and he would read lyrics from his songs to customers at the record store. And like some people knew who he was right away, but most of the people didn't. And there was one older guy that came in looking at like classical music. Like, why? I don't understand that. But anyway, he was looking for like classical music, and Post Malone was reading him lyrics from one of his songs. Not that Post Malone is a literary savant of any sort, but like, I mean, the lyrics were pretty terrible. But like, he's reading him the lyrics from a very famous song of his, and the guy's like, "You should probably keep working on that. That one needs a lot of work." And so it'd be funny because if I did that, I'd probably go to the store and then I'd be like, "Here's what I really think you need. I think you need a 1080v10. It's going to be great for you. It's nice and bouncy, but good for a long distance." And I guarantee you the first person will say, "Yeah, I tried that shoe and I hated it. I returned it." Like, that's probably what would happen to me if I did that. But I'll run it by my friends over at Roadrunner Sports, see if they'll let me do it. I would want to do it though in a rig with I don't know if you guys watch Brad Hall on YouTube. I kind of have stopped watching him for a little while because I think like the shtick got a little bit old. But he made himself a GoPro selfie rig, and it had 3 GoPro cameras that were all like on like this chest harness that came out in different angles, and he went and got a haircut in it one time. and I thought it was pretty funny. He makes fun of like hype beasts and sneaker culture, so it was pretty funny. But maybe I'll do something like that. That'd be fun. Um, Norwal Newman says, "Does your wife run at all? How's your Zwift Franken setup these days?" My wife doesn't run. She walk jogs from time to time, and she kind of comes and goes with it. Um, she always wishes she has more time to do that, but she does not. And I used to feel really weird about it. Um, and then I just finished reading Matt Fitzgerald's book, Running the Dream, and his wife doesn't run at all. And I thought it was interesting because like he had moved him and his wife to Flagstaff for a summer so that he could train as like a professional runner. And he was like, "Yeah, my wife doesn't run. She doesn't know anything about running." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. All right." She put on a shirt so she could be here now, guys. She got a bathrobe on. She didn't just take a bath though, but she has a bathrobe on. All right. Lewis Cameron says, "Did you see the Mary Kane article in the New York Times? If so, takes." I didn't see your article in the New York Times. I skimmed over the article in Women's Running. I think that's the one that it was, about her job at Tracksmith. Whoa, don't touch those. You can't touch those. Because then people won't be able to hear me. That's how people hear me. The microphone is over here. That goes into this sound mixer. And the sound mixer sends the sound all the way through this cable over to the iPad. And these knobs deal with how well people can hear me. So if you mess with those, then people won't be able to hear me. But the Women's Running article talked about her role as like community something in New York, which I think is going to be the future for a lot of especially long distance running pros and a lot of brands. Maybe not so much at Nike, but I can certainly see that kind of stuff happening at brands like Hoka and Saucony. Places where they're already picking up pros that are very vocal in the community. People like Molly Huddle, for example. People like Stephanie Bruce. So I think it's very interesting how they're doing it, where it's kind of like they have jobs that are, I mean, I feel like it's like the brands will get really what they really wanted out of their pros anyway, instead of having to tell them like, you know, you have to post 4 times a month on Instagram. Oh, you brought your baby. Here's the baby. Thank you. Did the baby wake up from a nap? Oh, yes. Okay. So instead of like having like those kinds of things, or like someone was saying, I think it was Peter Bromka was saying, like, right at the Olympic marathon trials, it's like if you're a pro and you've been really quiet about your training and your preparation, you showed up at the Olympic marathon trials and dropped out at mile 12. Like, what does your sponsor getting out of you? You know, and I think it's like part of it is like a shift in terms of what fans of the sport, like us, everyone here, wants from pros and brands, and what do brands want from their pros in terms of like access / publicity / just attention. And so I think it's an interesting shift, and I hope that it is something that gives us as running fans not more access necessarily, but more visibility as to like what are these people doing. Like I'd love to see, and I know like Jordan Hesse is like pretty fiercely introverted, but I'd love to know more about like what she's doing. I'd love to know more about like what Galen Rupp is doing, because I like Galen Rupp. I know he has a reputation, but like, I mean, I met him in person. I talked to the guy, and maybe he's really good at dealing with media, if you want to consider me that, but he just seemed like a guy that likes running and likes talking about shoes. So like, it's pretty good in my book. So I mean, he seemed really genuine, and I like that. But I'd like, you don't get to see like that from people, and they don't have to give me that, I guess, as a pro runner. I know there's a school of thought for the pro runners that are like, I'm a pro runner, I do all my running on the track. But you know what? What do you do now when like the Olympics are postponed? How do you still provide value to your sponsors if your whole like rationale is I speak when I compete? If there is anything to compete for, I don't know. So it's changing, and especially at a time where like there's more visibility into everything. I think it's really important to be able to see that. I like to see that. Tim McKenna says, when is the Kofuzi group run in Chicago? I don't know, but I was listening to, I keep forgetting her name. She's a reporter. She's doing a fantastic job of covering and live tweeting local press conferences, both from the governor and from the mayor. And I was watching her cover Lori Lightfoot's the mayor's press conference today, and she was talking about, like, we're all very eager to reopen, but we can't be so eager to reopen that we walk right into a re-shutdown. I don't think I'm paraphrasing. I thought that was a very like that idea is a great way to put it. And then they were talking about the different phases. I think Lori Lightfoot has a 5-phase plan, and someone asked about it, and she said reopening up the lakefront is not in phase 3. So that's going to be something that's really late in the reopening process, which I expected. So I think it's going to be delayed until at least we can get a Kofuzi, at least until we could do it on the lakefront. But that'd be a nice way to celebrate the reopening of the lakefront. I think that's what we'll definitely do. Let's see. Chris Sanguna says, Chris from Dallas, hope you're having a great day. Good to see you. I am having a great day. Thank you. Running with Pete says, greetings from Phoenix. Went out for a trail run this morning in the Saucony Mad River. Door to trail in 15 minutes. Nice. Love the shoes, but we're also a Saucony house. Love the live stream. Awesome. That's cool. The Mad Rivers look nice. They always look nice. Bo Veneri says, have you ever thought about running any shorter distance time trials, 10K or less, to assess your current fitness during this prolonged base period? Oh, that's cool. That's nice. I like that. I like the illustration. Cool. Nice. My daughter's been writing a short story about my dog's imaginary friend. Like, if my dog had an imaginary friend, what it would be like and what adventures would they go on. And she just showed me the illustration for the cover. I have thought about doing some time trials, and initially I was against it because I was just like, it's a time to kind of take it easy, step off the gas a little bit during this time where we're worried about getting sick and overall public health. But it's been a really long time, and so I'm kind of thinking about maybe I will do a 10K time trial, not to set an official PR, but just as a gauge. Lately I've only, the most I've been doing is 2 mile repeats within a longer run is kind of the most I've been doing, and it doesn't really give me an accurate gauge of my level of fitness, but I've been getting my mileage back up to somewhat close to normal, and that's been good. That's been making me feel really great, so I've been liking that. Cody Davis, when he's talking about ordering hype rice at Chipotle, Cody says he thinks that they mistook the hype for white because he got white rice instead of hype rice being what we talked about yesterday with the hyper ice, that competitor to Theraguns. I was saying that I always see, whenever I see hyper ice, that brand, I see hype rice, and I can't unsee it now. And Jen from Moss says, love all the hyper ice puns, and we'll never look at her hyper ice or hyper ice massage ball the same way again. Even though she doesn't use it much, she says. Shannon Side says, we test out any other ultras other than the Escalante too. You consider them an everyday trainer, and I use them for more for racing. Scared to test anything else out, but would love to have more ultra reviews. I will say that I'm going to try the ultra at the Escalante that I have at faster paces as well, because people tell me that's what they like them for. So I'll certainly do that just to kind of see how it does. But I've been liking the Escalante so much, it makes me very likely to try another one. So I'll have to look around for it and see what else is out there. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around all over the comments today. Angel Torres says, have I ordered from StockX? And if so, how's your experience like? Yes, I think I've done it twice now. The first time I did it was for my first pair of Vaporfly. The Vaporfly OG, version 1 in a light blue. It was a USA colorway. It was red, white, and blue. I ran the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon in them. It was fine. The other time I ordered them is when I got my Vaporfly Next Percent. So the first time I got those, I couldn't find them here. Well, they weren't released yet. They were only released in England. Everything got real dark on the screen all of a sudden. But they were released in England, but not in the U.S. yet. But I really want to get my hands on a pair, so I paid like $450 for a pair of those. So both times I got them, and I had good experiences with it each time. Um, Lewis Cameron's talking about like pros that drop out. It's like it's what we saw happen with the dropping out with races, and now he's back. Yeah, I know. I mean, like I wish I could have gotten more of an insight into that. Um, I mean, he was coached by Alberto Salazar at the time, so I can understand why he's been so quiet. But I was hoping that under new coaching that maybe that might change a little bit. But I think that like he's not had social media for a really long time, and I think that like he my I mean, I think the understanding is that like he's felt like he's been burned by social media and regular media, and so he just stays away from it all, which I can understand that. But like I hope he like I would love to see him like become more open, and let us see more of his training and what his day is like. I'm not saying he has to be like Colin Quigley or like Gwen Jorgensen, but like even to see more from him, like even like at a Mo Farah level, would be like interesting. I think. Um, yeah, I'd love to see that. But like I was listening to it was Lindsey Hines' interview with Jordan Hesse, and I didn't realize like she just seems like such a bubbly person, and she seems like someone that would be a natural extrovert. But like listening to that conversation, she definitely isn't, and I can understand from that like why she's not very big on social media. Although she's been posting stuff on Instagram somewhat recently, ever since she switched over and is getting coached by Paul Radcliffe. We've been seeing more of that, and I think that's great. And I hope she can find a way to make it enjoyable for her and not feel like she has to do it for her job or for her sponsors or whatever. So we'll see. Let's see. Uh, Norwell Newman says something I'm curious about. In the U.S., do you have local running clubs? Are you part of one? In the U.K., they are super popular and all inclusive. They have free local race series, including cross country. We do, but they're not quite the same as they are over there. Like in Chicago, for example, there's a couple of different like running groups, and they all have different flavors. And so, like in Chicago, for example, there's CARA, which is Chicago Area Runners Association. That's the biggest one. But there's also 3Run2. Then there's Chicago Endurance Sport, and there's several other ones that are pretty popular, and they just have different like sizes and different kind of things that they emphasize, and so it's a little bit different, different demographics in each one slightly, and so it's just we do have things like that. They don't necessarily put on events like the running clubs do in England. I think historically in the U.S., most of like the running teams, and we tend to call them like teams, are usually groups of like sub elites that are competing in a race together or might be training together. But I think like the running club is becoming a much more popular thing in the U.S., and I think that's a great thing. I'm not a member of one. I'm more of a loner runner. I don't like to run in groups. Which has been strange for me to like now that I can't run in a group to like long for it because it's something I never really enjoyed very much. But I do miss running with my running buddy, that kind of thing. So I don't really I'm not all that personally interested in like being in a running club. Um, like the brand or like I don't know if you even call it a brand, but like antisocial social club, like I love that. Like just that's perfect for me. um, JC8489 says, like to the party, where's the pizza? That was yesterday, but I'm sure like I have a feeling like pizzas are going to become a thing here, and I'm very happy with that. Yeah. Kevin Googans. It just looks like Goggins. I'm just so used to seeing Goggins when I look on the internet. But Kevin Googans says thoughts on running with Apple Watch versus other type of watch like Garmin or Polar. I think it makes it for a great running watch, except for the fact that the battery life isn't that long. I would still pair it with sensors like a Stride Foot Pod and an external heart rate monitor to get what I need out of it. But I pair those with Garmin and Polar watches anyway. But the big difference is that like an Apple Watch, like if you had the Apple Watch Cellular, and you were going to use it for tracking your marathon and also listening to music during that marathon, you'd have to be very careful about how early you start playing music if you wanted to get through the entire event, depending on how fast you are. So that's the biggest drawback of it. Lewis Cameron says yes, that Mary Kane's gonna be community manager for Tracksmith in New York City, which is yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's where she's been, and she's been doing that already, um, in a variety, like informally for like a couple of different places where she's working. So I mean, I wish her the best. I think that's awesome. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna grab a couple more comments here, and then I'm gonna have to get going for the day. J. Mike Remy says gave commute another shot. Made a pretty good 16-mile route, but it took you off road. Ended up running 6 of those miles through trails and mud in new Ultra Juice PBs, but it works, I guess. So was like the route like, did you know the route was gonna be like off road, or was that a surprise? Was Commute wrong about that? Let me know. Interesting. Um, let's see. Wayne Wan Yue Peng says, I feel Hoka has been going down this year. Not much innovation and not many people talking about them this year. What's your opinion on Hoka? I think they had a really big year last year, and I think that they were going to have some pretty good success with the Rocket X. I think people were pretty excited about that. I feel like they were going to have a really great PR year. I mean, Alafine Tuliamuk made the marathon team. Steph Bruce had a pretty good running as well, and who knows what would have happened, you know, in terms of like if any like the alternates would have been necessary. But I feel like they were poised really well. Also, Matt Fitzgerald's book talks about his time training with the Northern Arizona Elite, which is sponsored by Hoka, and so like I think that like, you know, they were set up really well. They had a monster year in 2019 in terms of their running shoes. I had them pegged as like basically like most improved of the year in terms of running shoe brands. Sorry, that's where the snacks are. That's why the girls keep going in there. It's one of the many places where we store snacks in the house. And I felt like this year they were going to follow up with a lot of stuff and a lot of events that all got pushed back. So everything that like we see from Hoka in the that's coming in the next 2 months was all supposed to happen right now. I was supposed to be in LA 2 weeks ago for a Hoka event. It was supposed to be pretty fun. They didn't tell me what it was. It was supposed to be a big surprise, but I think it was supposed to be like an Ekiden type of event. So I think they just moved a lot of their stuff to later in the year. Probably because they don't have as big a budget as Nike to like put that stuff through anyway. And so I think they want to really maximize when they make their pushes. So I think that you'll see more from Hoka coming later in the year. But it's not going to be a revolutionary year for them, but it will definitely be building on a lot of the excitement from last year. Nick Gurr says, when did you start running and what kept you running? I've been running off and off since I was in middle school. I did a lot of different track and field events through high school and a little bit of college at a very, very small school in Division III athletics. And then I took a break for a very long time, and I've been off and on with running, but not very much, not very seriously for several years. Until 2010, I ran a marathon with my dad, couch to marathon. It was terrible. And that took me off of running for another 6 or 7 years. What keeps me running is now there's social media and GPS watches and lots of other ways to like for me to like quantify the running, which is something I really love. And so being able to share it and also to like have measurable results is really two really great motivators for me. So like that's been amazing. And now it's just gotten to this point where my running is very visible, for better or worse. For the most part, it's very good that it's very visible, and that's very encouraging as well. And I have, you know, everyone's coming here in this community, and like I want to participate in this community and keep it going, you know. And so that's what keeps me running. All right, one more. Abraham Marino says, after watching your video today, I was set on buying the Boston 9, but I can't find my size anywhere. Running Warehouse has my size in size 8. Do you think, but in size B, is that the width? Do you think it's still a good idea? If it's a different width, I wouldn't buy a different width. Or I don't know if that was a typo, but if it's a different width, I wouldn't go with that. I might try and find it from Roadrunner Sports, even if it might cost a little bit more there. I don't know if they've discounted theirs as much, but I think theirs is discounted pretty good. Oh, but I think at Roadrunner Sports, I think they only have like size 12s and 13s. So that's a harder one to find. Someone else was saying that they were, as a result, looking at the Boston 8, which if you find the Boston 8 with light strike, that's that is the one to get. And it won't say in the listing that it's light strike. You just got to look at the pictures to make sure. And you could tell from the heel cup on the back. It has a slightly different design than the regular Boston 8. But also on the foam, it'll say light strike. So I think that one's... I didn't try that one, but I have a feeling it's pretty much that... I don't know why they released that shoe and didn't just wait for the Boston 9 to come out. But I think that shoe is pretty close to the Boston 9. If anyone else has had that shoe, let me know in the comments to confirm or to contradict what I just said. But I'd love to hear about that. But that might be another option for you. And I suspect that a lot of the Boston 8s that are available on the Adidas website are those Light Strike Boston 8s. So I'll take a closer look at that and check those out. All right, that's all I'm going to have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out. I had a great time tomorrow, 6 a.m. on Instagram, Central Time, or 3 p.m. tomorrow. That's right, Stevie's coming in with that. He is the chairman of the Happy Hour Subcommittee. And so Happy Hour tomorrow, 3 p.m. here on YouTube. And in the meantime, hope you guys are safe out there getting your runs in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.